I often embark on hikes and sometimes even camp overnight in this region. My usual approach is to pick an obscure trail and let it lead me wherever it goes. The thrill of the unknown always keeps me coming back. For safety, I always bring multiple navigation tools because you never know what might happen. One early summer day, I set out on a hike in an unfamiliar area, a trail intersecting with one I had been on weeks before. This particular trail was faint and sometimes made me question if it even existed. For about 2 hours, I hiked without any notable incidents, but eventually I noticed shoe prints on the muddier sections of the trail. The strange part was that these prints didn't seem to follow the path consistently. They often diverged from it. After an hour or so, I reached a section with many shoe prints scattered about. There, I spotted an old cabin nearby which had clearly been abandoned for years. The door hung loosely from its hinges, and parts of the structure were sinking into the ground. The cabin's disrepair struck me as odd, given the fresh shoe prints. I approached cautiously, intrigued by the contradiction. As I entered, a foul stench assaulted my senses. The place was in a state of disarray, with signs of animals nesting inside and nature reclaiming the space. I couldn't go any further.
Approaching the vehicle, my breath formed clouds in the night air. Peering through the frosty window, I discerned no signs of life within. Puzzled, I retreated back inside to escape the cold's relentless grip. Just as I settled behind the counter, a thud echoed through the store. My senses heightened. I investigated and discovered muddy imprints trailing from the rear door, leading to the supply room. With trepidation, I ventured toward the back, only to glimpse a shadowy figure. A tall, bearded man cloaked in darkness met my gaze. My heart stuttered momentarily, a reflexive pause before rationality kicked in. I retreated to the front, placing a call to the police, whispering for assistance. The ensuing minutes were a tense wait, with no sign of the mysterious man. When the officers arrived, the supply room was empty, and the man had vanished, leaving only damp footprints and an eerie silence. The abandoned SUV held no clues, and the tracks in the snow led into the expansive, desolate field, shrouded in darkness. The enigma persisted, leaving behind unanswered questions that lingered like an uninvited guest in the cold night air.
I'm a police officer in our small local department. Our shift schedule rotates between 10 to 12 hours, often switching from overnight to early morning and back again. On one shift, I received a call about a group of teenagers trespassing in an abandoned hospital on the outskirts of town. This location was a common hangout for mischievous youngsters, and I expected a routine call to disperse them. However, that night turned out to be different. The moment I arrived at the deserted hospital, I noticed a flashlight moving rapidly across the second-story windows. It seemed like someone was running through the darkened hallways. I got ready, called out, and waited for a response. Silence enveloped the building. The eerie quiet, broken only by the creaking of the old structure, sent shivers down my spine. I ventured upstairs, guided by my flashlight. It was considerably darker up there, and the footsteps were the only sounds I heard. When I reached the hallway, I found a room with a locked door on one side and another unlocked one on the opposite end. The unlocked room was empty except for a boarded-up window piquing my curiosity. Peering through a crack in the wood, I spotted a figure approaching the hospital from the field nearby. Alarmed, I alerted my partner, Chris, about the approaching person. As we watched, footsteps echoed on.
My hometown is a quaint countryside town with just a few thousand residents. The nearest city is hours away. In this tight-knit community, everyone knows each other, and word travels fast. During my high school years, I had a best friend named Chris. We spent most of our days together. One autumn, there was much talk about an abandoned farmhouse on the town's outskirts that people were exploring. The house had sat empty for the past 5 years, left to decay on the edge of town. As the rumors spread, stories were told, and dares were made to explore the place. One weekend night, Chris suggested we check it out. Equipped with flashlights, we drove to the farmhouse. It was a bit challenging to find the driveway, which had likely become overgrown, so we parked on the road and walked through the field toward the house. The moon's soft light illuminated our path, leading us to the eerie house. The yard was overgrown with weeds, and vines clung to the dilapidated exterior. Chris led the way inside through an open doorway. Once inside, we explored the decrepit interior, but after a few minutes, we had seen all there was to see on the first floor. We decided to venture upstairs. The upper floor was shrouded in darkness, and our flashlights illuminated a single hallway with 2 doors. The door on the left was locked, while the one on the right was not. I entered the open room, only to find it empty and decaying except for one strange feature. A window was covered